This video tells a real and terrifying story about a supernatural entity harming humans. The documentary talks about a moving doll possessed by a supernatural being that injures people. But what is the truth? And what story is hidden behind this doll? Stay with me until the end, and don't forget to like and subscribe. At 6 p.m., he receives a message on his phone. A girl named Nada has written to him. "You are a documentarian, and I don't know why I'm writing this message to you, but believe me, I'm exhausted and I'm really scared." This documentary filmmaker then tells us that the doll caused his head to split open so badly that he had to be rushed to the hospital. So stay with me until the end to find out what the truth is behind this terrifying story. Nada continued.
Because I know you make videos about supernatural entities, and I'm having a problem with one of them. That's why I messaged you, hoping you might be able to help me. I have to say that we really don't have good relatives at all. But my mom and dad wouldn't accept this fact, and up until now, it's been a whole year that we've been suffering because of it. The truth is, this story started when we moved into our new house, and my aunt gave me a doll as a gift. This doll dances and moves around, but don't forget, it runs on batteries.
After Nada receives the doll from her aunt, she notices that the doll isn't new at all and brings this up with her mother. But her mother refuses to believe her, gets extremely upset with her, and in the end forces her to thank her aunt. Nada then places the doll in a corner of her room. Nada says, "This doll was on a shelf above my brother's bed for a whole month. My brother is 10 years old. After that 1 month, everything started. He would get a fever in his sleep, and whenever he woke up, he had terrible headaches, and his eyes were always bloodshot or red." The ordeal with Nada's brother continued for several more days, until one night, around 4 a.m., while he was still asleep, he suddenly screamed, "That doll won't leave us alone! It wants Mom and Dad to get divorced!" He shouted so loudly that their parents heard him and immediately rushed into the kids' room. But since they didn't believe in anything supernatural, they assumed he was just delirious from the high fever and talking in his sleep. In reality, though, something far worse was happening. From that night onward, Nada kept a much closer eye on her brother. Then, 3 nights later, it happened again. He sat bolt upright in bed while still fast asleep, his eyes tightly shut, and began repeating the same chilling sentence over and over. "Nada, help her, or it will kill Mom." Things at our house had become truly terrifying. Starting the next night, Mom began sleeping next to my brother to keep an eye on him. But that only made everything worse. From that night onward, every single morning when Mom woke up, she would discover a new bruise somewhere on her body. They had no explanation for it at all. Since Nada's parents absolutely refused to believe that any of this could have a supernatural cause, they were completely at a loss. But the very next night, something happened in their house that Nadeza managed to capture on video. While her mother was sleeping next to her brother, she suddenly realized he had developed an extremely high fever again. Everyone woke up in a panic and rushed the boy to the bathroom to lower his temperature with cold water. At that exact moment, the doll suddenly turned on by itself, began dancing and twitching unnaturally, then fell from the high shelf onto the floor. In the midst of all the chaos, Nadeza was able to grab her phone and filmed the entire terrifying incident. The next morning, Nada showed the video to her father, but he brushed it off, saying the doll must just be faulty, and told her to take the batteries out. For the 3 nights after that, everything stayed calm. But on the 4th night, something happened that brought terror and dread rushing back into their home. In the middle of the night, Nada suddenly woke up feeling like she was being choked. Gasping for air, her eyes darted to the doll, and there, right behind it, she saw a tall, pitch-black shadow staring straight at her brother. When she looked at her brother, she realized that even though he was still asleep, his eyes were wide open and fixed on her with pure terror. Nada let out a blood-curdling scream. Everyone jolted awake, and the whole family stayed up until dawn, paralyzed with fear. Yet once again, their father refused to take it seriously and accused the kids of having hallucinations about some supernatural being. Now another terrifying night had arrived. Tonight, Nada's brother was sleeping in their parents' room, leaving Nada all alone in her own bedroom. Terrified, she kept staring at the doll, unable to take her eyes off it. Then, once again, she noticed that strange, eerie black shadow. Nada frantically tried to film it with her phone, but the moment she started recording, the shadow instantly vanished. For the next 10 minutes, she kept the camera rolling, too scared to stop. Suddenly, the shadow reappeared and began moving around the room at terrifying speed. This time, Nada managed to capture it clearly on video. Nada was so terrified that night that she couldn't stay in her room any longer. She went to sleep in her parents' bedroom instead. The next morning, her mother came to wake her and asked in surprise, "Why did you put the doll outside your room?" Nada's heart sank. Trembling, she went to check, and sure enough, the doll was sitting right in the middle of the living room. At this point in Nada's messages, the documentary filmmaker started to have serious doubts. The whole story was beginning to sound unbelievable. He asked her, "Are you joking with me?" Nada immediately replied, "My family and I are living in constant fear and torment. What possible reason would we have to joke with you? If you can't help us, I'll just end this conversation." That was when the filmmaker apologized sincerely. Nada continued, "After those 3 months, things at home got much, much worse. Every single morning, my mom would wake up covered in new bruises, and she started suffering from strange illnesses no one could explain. My parents fought every day, worse than ever. Finally, my mom took my brother and went to live with my grandmother. Dad leaves for work early in the morning and doesn't come back until late at night, so I'm left completely alone in the house all day. During this time, the doll turned itself on and started moving on its own more times than I can count. One day, I decided I had to be ready. I grabbed my phone, sat down right in front of the doll, and started recording. That's how I captured the footage I'm about to send you. I actually spoke to the doll and said, "Turn on." Just a few seconds later, I saw that black shadow again, and the doll turned itself on. Honestly, this happened in front of me so many times, the doll switching on by itself. Most mornings, I'd also leave it facing one direction, only to find it turned completely the other way. My dad is slowly starting to believe there really is something supernatural behind this doll, but he says the problem is with the house itself. He's already put the house up for sale. Oh, and one more thing. Every single time the doll turns on by itself, the little button underneath it is clearly pressed down. You can actually see it pushed in. It was just this past Friday. I was sitting there examining the doll closely. This doll is designed like an umbrella. The top part detaches from the base. I looked it over really carefully and didn't see anything unusual, so I decided to open the mechanism underneath. Like everyone else, I thought maybe the electronics were just faulty and causing it to turn on by itself. But when I opened it, a bunch of dirt poured out, and I immediately started coughing. The dirt had a really foul, rotten smell, but that wasn't even the worst part. Because inside, I found something much more important. Look! As soon as I saw those papers, my whole body froze, and I went into complete shock. Right at that moment, my dad came home from work. He noticed one of the papers in my hand, glanced at it, and his face twisted in disbelief. He was just as shocked as I was. His legs gave way and he sank to the floor without a word. Tears started streaming down his face uncontrollably. Then, still without saying anything, he got up and walked out of the room. Yes, inside the doll, there was a real talisman/spell. The names of my mom, my dad, and my brother were all written on it. When I opened the bottom part of the doll, a horrible stench came out, and along with a handful of dirt, several small pieces of bone fell out too. My dad put on gloves, gathered the bones, burned all the papers with the spell on them, and threw the doll into the trash bin outside the house. But here's the strangest part. Exactly 1 hour later, my mom walked back into the house, holding the doll in her arms, and asked everyone why we had thrown it away. My dad and I were stunned to see her with it. I told her, "Aunt put a curse inside this doll." The second the words left my mouth, the doll slipped from Mom's hands, fell to the floor, and for hours afterward, nobody in the house said a single word. That same day, my parents went to my aunt's house. A huge fight broke out, and it even ended with the police being called. I didn't see my mom or dad for the next 2 days. I moved the doll to the storage room, but I kept hearing noises coming from there. I could constantly see that black shadow through the frosted glass. Out of pure terror, after a day or two, I fled to my grandmother's house. Eventually, after a few days, everyone came back home. The doll was still locked in the storage room. I noticed something terrifying. Every single time I tried to throw the doll in the outdoor trash again, my mom's condition immediately got worse. At this point, the documentary filmmaker asked me to come on camera and tell the whole story in person. I refused. I told him, I don't want this story to go on any longer. My mom is in pain every night. We see terrifying things day and night, and all I want is to finally get rid of this doll. You might not believe me, but just yesterday, I was about to go out to buy painkillers for my mom. The moment I stepped outside, the entire staircase was covered in water, as if something was trying to stop me from leaving. My parents have already booked appointments with psychologists, but before anything else, I need this doll gone for good. I want to tell my mom that I've found someone who can cleanse or destroy it completely, so that maybe, just maybe, she can finally feel a little better.
Documentary filmmaker says, I was already nearing the end of my conversation with Nada when she begged me for help. I told her, I'm just a documentary filmmaker. I don't really know anything about cleansing or destroying cursed objects. She replied, then just come. Take the doll, throw it away, burn it, film the whole thing, and send me the video so I can show my mom. I'm absolutely sure she'll calm down and start feeling better once she sees it's gone. Just destroy it, please. I asked her if I could make a longer video for YouTube as well. She said, yes, that's fine. Just send it to me privately first so I can show certain parts to my mom. 3 days later, I went to their house and picked up the doll. The moment I held it in my arms, it was burning hot. Unnaturally hot. And that's when my own story with this doll began.